Please be advised that this video is for the sole purpose of entertainment. Any views are purely my own, are subjective and may not necessarily be true. I do, however, do extensive research for all of my videos. All photos have been found on the public domain. I am using them under the fair use and fair dealing guidelines. I urge everybody to do their own research. Well, hello, it's Murky Meg here. It's Thursday the 13th of February, and I'm going to quickly talk today about a very interesting article that I've found online. Now, it's from insider.com, and it says that Meghan Markle and Prince Harry could breach the terms of their Mexit deal if they pursue private working before officially resigning in the spring. Now, I've heard conflicting reports on this, but as far as I am aware, they are contractually obligated to still be working royals until the end of May. Now, if you remember when all of the Mexit drama went down, some of the finer points are yet to be confirmed, but they will still be receiving the sovereign grant, plus their 95% of their allowance of their income from the Duchy of Cornwall. And it's only till after May that they stop receiving money from the sovereign grant, so that's 5% of their allowance. They will still receive money for security. That hasn't been ironed out yet, and I suspect that that will still continue. In their website manifesto, before it got changed, they said that they needed to receive armed security by Metropolitan Police because they, as quoted, are internationally protected people, which mandates this level of security. Whether we like it or not, there is a global interest in these two. And much like ex-prime ministers who also get their security provided for, we will for some time have to stump it up for them out of the taxpayers' money. Whether we like it or not, that's going to happen. However, if they continue to receive global deals that enable them to earn a humongous living, then the questions do need to ask whether or not we should be stumping up the cash. If they can afford it, why on earth are we, the taxpayer, paying for it? That is a question, and it opens up a whole other can of worms on whether we should or whether we shouldn't, irrelevant of how much they earn. Speaking of this whole how much they earn business, it's come to my attention, and a lot of people are saying this on Twitter, social media, with the JP Morgan thing. If this happened, people would be aware of how much they are estimated to have earned. However, if they didn't take a fee for this event, then I think Harry and Meghan would both be making that very clear. So I firmly believe it either didn't happen or they got paid for it. There is no in between in that one. So back to this interesting concept of if they earn a living while still being part of the royal family until May, could this then breach the terms of the deal that Harry agreed to in the Mexit meeting? It's a very interesting concept, isn't it? If they have paid private projects outside of the royal family before the end of May, what happens? Who kind of pulls them up on this? Surely they're being watched. You know, they're not invisible people. They have security, which is paid for by the taxpayer and ultimately is being provided by the Met Police. So we should always know, or effectively, the Queen's aides and the courtiers should always know where they are because they will have their oh so much security that they so desperately need. It's a very well-known fact that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are currently still members of the royal family. They're working and they will still be being paid as such. Buckingham Palace have refused to confirm whether or not they received any payments if these so-called JP Morgan talks went ahead, and or if there is the deal for Goldman Sachs in the pipeline. Will this be completed before the end of May? When the new model is rolled out for them being independent royals that they claimed that they wanted to be, the couple will no longer be reliant on the public funds. That gets given to them from the sovereign grant. That's not included in the security payment that we are still providing for them. What makes it even more worrying is the fact that Harry was in talks in November with Goldman Sachs. He's denying it. Now they're saying that it was all to do with the foundation. But the deals are out there. Journalists have been digging, and Goldman Sachs is a dodgy company to get in bed with. There's a very well-known saying, lie down with a dog, don't be surprised if you get fleas. So Insider is reporting that if these deals were to go through before the couple stop receiving public funds in the spring, it could very well jeopardise the terms of their leaving agreement. And like I've said, who is monitoring them? Nobody has actually released any further details with regards to the ins and the outs of them stepping away from royal life. When that big bombshell came and then they had the big Mexit talk at Sandringham, they confirmed that still a lot had to be ironed out. But that was a month ago now, and nothing has been said. Are they thinking perhaps, well, the public will forget about it, just brush it under the carpet? Nobody really needs to know, do they? Well, that's not the case, because people like me and my followers and everybody that I find on Twitter will go digging. And until these things are locked down, I don't think this will get any better. People will continue to dig and dig and dig, and they are. If this continues any longer, I think the journalists will go digging even deeper. And do they really want their past being brought up? It's already started to happen. Now, there's been a few reports out there that are suggesting that they are house hunting whether or not they want to put roots down in Vancouver, LA, New York. Is all up for grabs. One thing I will say is that yet again nothing's been said about them paying back for Frogmore Cottage. I think that if they were to buy a property without paying back that £2.4 million, there would be absolutely massive uproar. You can't do that. It's like going off on a shopping spree when you've still got loads of debts behind you. It's just not done. There's also the fact that we've got Beatrice's wedding coming up in May as well. Will both Harry and Meghan come home for that? Will they both get an invite? I suspect Harry will get an invite, and obviously Meghan will be included in that. Whether or not they both go or just Harry goes, we'll have to wait and see, really, won't we? I think it would be a little bit inappropriate with everything that's going on. And like I've said in many videos, I don't think Meghan's coming to Britain anytime soon. We also have the Commonwealth Day coming up in a couple of weeks. That in itself is going to be extremely interesting, because as Commonwealth Youth Ambassadors, which they technically still are until the end of May, they really both should be there. And like I've said multiple times, I don't think she will be. I think if any of them turn up, it will just be Harry. One thing's for sure, we've got very strange things coming out of Meghan and Harry's camp. We've had almost identical articles relating to both of them, but separately. Both of these articles have said how they're much happier and more relaxed in Canada, but they weren't put out as a couple. It was two separate articles. One that said how Meghan wasn't regretting her decision, how she had lots more time to cook and feed Archie and do yoga and blah blah blah, and now one that says that Harry is much more relaxed and happy in Canada. Two very similar articles, but put out independent of each other. That is a bit strange to me. Why on earth do you not do a joint article? The couple are much happier residing in Canada. They are totally at ease. But what we have are two articles individually. I want to read into that. I really, really do. I know that there's a lot of speculation out there whether they are still together. I believe that they still are. Don't know why. I just think all of this wouldn't have gone ahead, this whole Mexit thing, if they weren't. You know, they've literally blown this whole thing up. It was like dropping a bomb going, oh my God, and just walked away. I don't think they'd have done that if they weren't still together. Might be wrong, who knows? One thing I do know though is the fact that press are now going in on them. A lot more people are being more vocal about this whole situation and how distasteful this seems for them to be eyeing up those billion-dollar deals while still technically being a official working royal until May. It's all a bit distasteful, really, isn't it? And when they did this whole eco thing and then they went off to Ibiza and then stayed at Elton's and they took, I think, 6 private jets in the space of 2 weeks, they were rightly called out for being hypocrites. And it started again. More and more people in the media are now starting to call them hypocrites. And this is a label that's been stuck onto them twice now in the space of 6 months. It's something you can't really shake very easily. And I think if they continue to attach themselves to certain companies that have questionable ethics behind them, they really don't have a leg to stand on. So let me know what you think your opinions are on whether or not the deal that they made, or Harry made, because she buggered off to Canada, didn't she, with the Mexit discussions at the beginning of January, will them, if they make these $1 million deals with said banks and get a fee, will this break and breach the contracts that they had with the Queen and the royal family? If you were to go into a company and they said, you cannot do this until this certain time, this is when your contract ends, you can't go and make any other deal, you are contractually obliged to work for us, yet you go and then moonlight to another company, earn a vast amount of money, and your boss finds out, you would be in breach of your contract, and that is a serious matter. Why aren't these two now held to task? That's what I want to know. Do you think this should be? What do you also think of the very strange articles coming out that the polar opposite, well, they're exactly the same, but they're individual, not as a couple? That's very odd. And do you think that they will be here in the Commonwealth Day? Do you think Harry will be here? I know I've mentioned it on a previous video, but I like people talking about it. And do you think they will both be at Beatrice's wedding? Interesting times ahead, hey? As always, let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notification bell, and also that like button. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of my followers for all the tips and all the emails, DMs that everybody sends to me. It really is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much for watching once again.